The following BLTV program is brought to you by O'Flaherty Law. Please enjoy.
Welcome to Learn About Law. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law, and today we're going to answer the question of what property is required to go through probate. First, we're going to talk about what probate is, then we're going to talk about what it means for an asset to go through probate. Third, we're going to explain when probate is necessary, and finally, we'll talk about the types of assets that are not required to go through probate, even when a probate case is necessary. So let's first talk about what probate is. Probate is a court case in which the court oversees the distribution of a deceased person's assets to creditors and heirs and beneficiaries. So rather than the person that is in charge, like an executor or trustee, just simply gathering the deceased person's assets and immediately distributing them to the person that the will requires, there's an actual formal court case with court filings, reports, inventories that need, and notices that need to go out to all interested parties. And it takes about a year. So if you have a good estate plan, it's a good chance that probate won't be necessary when you pass away. A big purpose of estate planning is to make sure that we avoid probate when people pass away. But sometimes probate is necessary even when you have an estate plan. So we'll explain now when probate is required to distribute a deceased person's assets. So probate is required in Illinois typically if you own any real estate outside of a trust or outside of joint ownership with rights of survival, or if you own at least $100,000 of any other type of asset outside of a jointly held account with rights of survivorship or outside of a transfer on death account. So one of those two, if there's real estate involved and it's not held in a trust or jointly held, or if there's more than $100,000 of other assets that are not jointly held or payable on death to some direct beneficiary. So if either of those two things are true, then a probate case is going to be required. So next we get to the question of what does it mean for an asset to go through probate. An asset goes through probate if it has to actually go through that probate case in order to be distributed, in order to give the executor or administrator the power to pass that asset from the deceased person's estate to the person that it is supposed to go to. An asset is required to go through probate if both a probate case is necessary based on the criteria that we set forth before, and the asset is held in such a way that it has to be considered part of the probate estate. So based on the way the asset is held, even if probate is necessary, it might not be part of the probate estate. It might be passed separately from the probate estate. If it is part of the probate estate, again, it has to go through the probate court and be listed on these inventories and pass according to court supervision. If it's not part of the probate estate based on the way it's held, then it can be passed immediately and directly to the beneficiaries involved or distributed to creditors first, and then if there's anything left over to beneficiaries without court supervision separately from any active probate case that's going on. So all these assets that go through probate are going to be tied up for about a year while the case is going on. Assets that are titled in such a way that they don't have to go through probate can pass immediately. If a probate case isn't necessary at all, then all of the estate's assets can go directly and immediately to the person that they're supposed to go to, and all that the trustee or administrator of the estate has to do is fill out a one-page form called a small estate affidavit, and with that small estate affidavit, they're basically testifying that there's no real estate that is held outside of a trust or right of survivorship, and there's less than $100,000 in assets that are subject to probate, and therefore probate isn't necessary, and I, the administrator or trustee, am the correct person to administer the estate, and here's how I'm going to divide it up. And so then with a copy of that small estate affidavit, a copy of any trust that's in place, and the death certificate of the deceased person, they then, without going through a court to get the power, have the power to immediately distribute assets. So the point here is, for this section of the conversation, is that there's a threshold issue of whether probate is necessary at all, and if it's not, then everything can pass immediately according to the small estate affidavit. If probate is necessary, then the next issue is whether a particular asset is of the type that is required to be part of the probate estate. If it's not, even though some assets are going to be tied up in the probate case for a year at least, the assets that are not held in such a way as to be part of the probate estate can pass immediately to the person that they're supposed to go to. So let's next talk about what assets are not part of the probate estate, even when probate is necessary. Now, we've touched on this a little bit, but it's any assets that are held in trust. So if you have a trust and you transfer assets to that trust, this is basic. This is like the basic, most fundamental part of most people's estate plans. Trusts aren't just for the wealthy. It's for anybody who wants to avoid probate. So if you have a revocable living trust or an irrevocable trust, typically anything that's held in the trust is not going to be part of the probate case, and the trustee can administer the terms of the trust immediately without going to court. Any jointly held property with right of survivorship. So typically this is going to be the family home. If there's a married couple and one of the spouses died, it will usually pass directly to the surviving spouse without having to go through probate. The issue then is when the surviving spouse dies, that's typically when probate becomes necessary if that property hasn't already been transferred into a trust. Finally, anything that has a transfer on death title. So this can be property. There's such thing as a transfer on death deed. When I say property, I meant real estate. But it can also be bank accounts. So if you have a bank account that is titled, you work out with the bank that on the title of the bank account, there's a transfer on death added to the account, and you've got a direct beneficiary who's living, that account can be transferred directly to them. Usually when we're doing estate planning, this isn't our preferred method of handling bank accounts. We like to transfer major savings accounts into the trust because it's a one thing that can hold all of the property, but that's a little bit beyond the scope of this conversation. But basically, typically when you have a trust, everything's going to be held in the trust that would normally be required to go through probate, so probate won't be necessary at all. But these three categories of property, if probate is necessary, will allow these certain assets to pass free and clear of the probate estate. And again, that's trusts, that's joint accounts with the rights of survivorship, or real estate held jointly with the right of survivorship, and it's real estate or any other property that has transfer on death in the title and a living beneficiary to transfer it to. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave us a comment below this post in the comment section or below the YouTube video on our YouTube channel, and we try to respond to those comments within 24 hours. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, or SoundCloud. And if you would like some help with your probate case or with your estate plan to ensure that you avoid probate, please feel free to give us a call at 630-324-6666. That's 630-324-6666 to schedule a free consultation. We offer free consultations in nearly every area of law, and we have offices all around Chicagoland for your convenience. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.